Donut Bag is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Your data is your business. Protect it with ExpressVPN. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to the link listed in my Twitter profile. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Donut Bag. This episode, I welcome for the first time Kate Hensler. She is at Kate on Deck IC on Twitter. I'm telling you right now, whether you're a wrestling fan or not, follow her right now if you're on Twitter. She's awesome. She always shows up on my timeline because she is kind of like me in that she's interactive and likes to have fun, and she's friendly. And she always appears on my timeline, probably because of that. Probably because she's just so interactive and always likes to have discussions going and things like that. So she's just awesome. She is on the Fightful podcast. She's also on the Mark Order Pod, and she's an overnight sensation that was several years in the making. She just recently joined Fightful, and I am kind of addicted to the Fightful podcasts. Sometimes I don't even watch the wrestling show. I just watch the Fightful show after the wrestling show. They do a great job. All the people on Fightful do a great job, but she is awesome. We had a great talk about AEW All Out. It was an amazing show. Some people are calling it the best of all time. I don't know about that. I think it's way too early to talk about something like that. But it was a great show, very entertaining. And yeah, follow Kate. She's awesome. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I just started YouTube videos of the podcasts a week ago, and it's going great. Still learning, but please subscribe. I am just a Joey Bag of Donuts on there, and like my videos and subscribe. And what do they say? And rate me 5 stars and all the other podcast tropes. Anyway, here is my talk with Kate Hensler about AEW All Out. Donut Bag starts right now. All right, so let's talk All Out. It is crazy that it is being discussed as the best pay-per-view of all time.
Yeah.
Is that what going in, did you have these expectations that it was going to be so good?
No. Yes and no. So I knew it seemed like Daniel Bryan was going to debut, which I knew was going to be monstrous. Like second to CM Punk, he's the next guy that's going to move the needle for you, right? I had no idea about Cole. And I knew the card looked really solid, but to be honest, I was like, there hasn't been a ton of build to this like we've seen in a lot of AEW pay-per-views, and there were a couple of rematches, which I get paid to watch the WWE product. Otherwise, I wouldn't at this point, I don't think. But like when you watch WWE product, you get rematched to death. So then when you get even just a couple, you're just like, oh my God. But then some things happened in the go homes that made me really excited. Eddie Kingston and Miro, I knew was going to slap. I thought Pac and Andrade falling off this card was going to hurt it a lot. I could not have been more wrong considering how long of a card this was. That they maintained that quality for so long was absolutely incredible.
That's the thing. It's great that, you have a pay-per-view that has a lot of stuff, but at the same time, too much of a good thing is you can't have 6, 7, 8 hour shows. It's just it's just too much for everybody.
It's really it's overwhelming, and then at the same time, it's so funny because I was not excited about Paul White and QT Marshall. Like I was not like, oh, this is going to be great. It was exactly what it needed to be, but thank God that break was built in before the main event, because you had CM Punk and Darby Allin. And that was emotionally invested enough, like to have that little breather of what you knew was going to be a one-sided, like 3-minute squash. Thank goodness it was there, because I think a lot of people needed to catch their breath. People underestimate the sequencing on a card. I felt like this was perfectly done. The only thing that could have come after that tag match was the women's battle royal, because you're having like these intermittent pops built in and these surprises and these spots. Like I felt like this was a perfectly sequenced card in addition to being an absolutely stacked card from front to back.
Exactly. The match order is so important.
So key.
For you have some huge match that everybody is going crazy for. You need something else to offset that. So yeah, AEW is doing everything perfectly right now. There's
Man.
it's amazing. Yeah, let's talk about Miro and Eddie Kingston. Really, the match was good, but what happened on Friday night was even better.
Oh my God.
Eddie
Redeem these nuts.
Redeem these nuts. Oh my goodness.
My goodness. I'm just like the biggest Eddie Kingston mark in the world. Before Punk went active again, he was my favorite active pro wrestler. Like, I just love guys that feel that real. If you love Eddie Kingston, loving CM Punk is probably not like a far leap. Like, those are my kind of guys. He just makes every movement feel so intentional and everything feel very real. And considering how quickly this feud got built out, for him to just come out and be like, I'm going to fuck up your neck like, consistently. And then to go tell that story. What a wonderful way to create a feud so easily, because that's what he did. He was like, he said something like, every move I have is your weakness, because so many of his moves focus on Miro's neck. Made it feel vicious really, really fast. And then of course the redeem these nuts line. I mean, if you didn't pop for that, I don't know what to tell you, but I was like, they need to make a t-shirt out of this. And then they did, like a day later. I cannot wait to buy it. I literally had just placed an order with Pro Wrestling Tees the night before. So I'm going to wait until Friday and probably pick up a couple of more. But yeah, I mean, that was, and then for Miro after the match to tweet, consider your nuts redeemed. Absolutely corpsing. And what I loved with the finish here, and I don't normally like distracted ref finishes, this one was particularly well done because it seemed like the ref wasn't an idiot and was just trying to do his job protecting the turnbuckle. It makes it feel like maybe they run this back at Arthur Ashe, which I am going to be at, and B, would love to see Eddie Kingston and his hometown crowd going for a championship.
This is a rematch I would not mind seeing at all. I like that the next day Eddie Kingston had to be like, listen, I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about Miro's God. Yeah.
Only Eddie Kingston could redeem these nuts and like spark an existential conversation for people in the same 2.5 minute promo or whatever the fuck. Like, just incredible work.
Eddie Kingston's just so best promo maybe in the business. Just his feud with John Moxley. Oh my God, that was intense.
Him like talking about Moxley's mom, like he's so great at that. Like, he's just so good at making everything feel very real. And the value in someone of like Eddie Kingston is he's been around pretty much every title in AEW for a little bit. He hasn't won any of them. He kind of doesn't need to.
He doesn't need it. You're right.
I would love to see him with a belt, but like, he's one of those characters that
need it.
He doesn't, and he's just gonna kick everybody's ass. And that's why I love Becky Lynch for the same reason, despite her booking. Like, characters that are just there to kick everybody's ass, it doesn't really take a lot for them to switch from heel to face. There's not like an overwhelming character change. You can just book whoever against them. It's just Wreck-It Ralph coming in there to kick your ass. Like, I love characters like that because I feel like they're invaluable because you can plug them into just anything, and he's one of them.
He doesn't need a belt, and he lost nothing by losing to Miro. Yeah. You know, that's a great thing. If you do it right, wins and losses matter, but they won't kill someone. You know, you're still over. So
super protected.
Yeah. Moxley against Satoshi Kojima. Now, I don't know. I didn't know Kojima. Okay. I didn't know who came. Minoru Suzuki. I did not know these people. I'm not that. So it didn't mean that much to me, but it meant a lot to a lot of people. It was funny when I Googled Minoru Suzuki and it came up. I spelled it wrong, and it's actually a female wrestler who's also very good, apparently.
Yes, she's great.
But I mean, anything Moxley does is amazing, and it was good stuff. So I'm no complaints.
I'm with you. I felt like commentary could have done a better job at filling people in on this. They kind of gave you Suzuki's legacy up front as far as what he's meant in New Japan. He had a somewhat an eventful Impact run as well, but it would have been better if they spoke to his legacy a little bit more. To me, the home run of this match, it was a great match. Jon Moxley coming down in his GCW hoodie is ridiculous. Like, that is so cool. He had just won an independent wrestling championship the night before from the hottest independent promotion in the world. And we were joking last night, like, it's kind of like Jon Moxley. They asked him who he wanted to fight, and he was like, I don't know, like all of Japan. Like,
why not?
So cool. And for those of you who don't know Minoru Suzuki, like, they call him, like, someone in the chat called him Murder Grandpa on our post show yesterday. And that's exactly what he is. Like, he is a brutal, physical guy, which you probably gathered like after the match from what everybody was saying in the reactions. But to see Moxley wrestle him in his hometown of Cincinnati on Dynamite this upcoming week is just going to be absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, I felt like commentary could have done a better job on filling us in on the significance of it rather than focusing so much on the play-by-play, but just more of the forbidden door stuff being open. And that's a consequence of it. Like, some people are going to know all of the people in Impact and none of the people in New Japan. Some people are going to have the reverse reaction. So there's always, unless you're a maniac like I am, there's not going to be any, and I don't even know New Japan that well. But there's always going to be pieces that are missing. So I hope commentary steps up their game on things like that moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Britt Baker, Chris Statlander. I could spend hours talking about Britt Baker. I'm so, as a Pittsburgh person, I've followed her for Britsburg. You know what? That's a shirt I need to get. I need to get a Britsburg shirt. Just so I followed her career. I think it's just amazing that she has two careers and she actually is a dentist.
Yeah.
I think that's so impressive. And how she has succeeded so well in wrestling. I'm just so happy for her. And when CM Punk, the first thing he says is, wow, you really make me feel like Britt Baker in Pittsburgh. Like, oh, I was there. Like, yes. Yeah, I mean, I just love Britt. And this was a good match. Chris Statlander's a star, and I'm
showed it last night.
Yeah,
my goodness.
And she showed it on Friday when she took on two women, and some of the spots she did were amazing. So yeah, this was awesome. And then the Pittsburgh Sunrise, yes, please more references to Pittsburgh, please.
Who needs the Panama Sunrise when you have the Pittsburgh Sunrise? I can't say enough good things about this match, and I'm very critical of the women's division in AEW, mostly from a creative perspective. I think the roster has grown tremendously. Britt Baker has grown tremendously from where she was. She was a baby face that didn't have like a lot to dig into, and then this heel turn came about so organically, and she has just knocked it out of the park. I mean, she is an absolute star. The way she interacts with the crowd, the way she just tells the story has been so incredible. And Chris Statlander, I think, is going to do wonders for that division because I feel like she is a flavor all her own. And I don't just mean because she's an alien. I mean, because of the style that she wrestles. She has like the brick house monster thing, but she's definitely further along than a Nyla or a Jade. But her ability to slow matches down, I've talked about it ad nauseum by now. It makes her opponents better because they have to slow their pace down, and they're just less sloppy matches when somebody is power bombing you and slowing things down. Like it tends to help from a stamina perspective as well. Like, people don't gas out as quickly when you're not going a million miles an hour, though we're about to talk about a cage match where that was the case and they just managed to have their foot on the gas the entire time. But this was absolutely a star-making performance for Chris, and definitely the best match of Britt's reign so far.
I think it's adorable that you do your boyfriend's moves and your boyfriend does your moves. I think that's a very sweet. Edge did one of Beth Phoenix's moves, I think, in a match too. It's like, it's so cute.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I forget what it was called, but yeah, he definitely did.
Yeah.
Boys paying homages to their girlies and vice versa.
That's so cute. Yeah. It's a little. They have to like not beat the crap out of each other, but they have to like play wrestle all the time.
Oh god, yeah.
I think I saw Britt tweet something like when you're dating a wrestler, you hear the phrase "let me try this" a lot of times.
Especially, I can't even imagine during the pandemic, because so many people just got their own rings and were at home because they didn't know what to do with themselves. It must have been 10 times that. I can't even imagine.
I know they couldn't, and if you could go back in time, I wish they would have done Adam Cole being in the audience. Remember they had Britt in the audience of an NXT show one time, and she's like, "Oh, it's just like,
yeah." I think he actually did that on Up, Up, Down, Down, but you couldn't do it last night, but that would have been real fun.
Yeah. Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks. My goodness. We knew it was going to be good, but wow. We can't even describe all the spots. It was just amazing. It was just so well done.
From front to back, this match. And this was one, to be honest, I was not as excited about going into it because we've seen it so many times. Like there was no way in hell in my head that the Lucha Brothers were going over either. So I wasn't like particularly hyped for this. The cage added a completely different element because it was not a cage that you were trying to get out of. First of all, it was the cage where the match happened. So that was really refreshing that there wasn't just a door that you walk through on it. That was neat.
So stupid.
Phoenix jumping off the top of it like he was jumping out of a 7-story building was absolutely bananas. My favorite storytelling moment was when both of the big brothers were protecting the little brothers. You don't see things like that a lot. Normally it's 2 members of one tag team doing stuff to 2 members of another tag team. To have both of the big brothers like actively protecting the little brothers, I thought was like so sweet. And they hadn't really leaned into the like brothers versus brothers story too much. So it was cool to see that unfold in the ring. Lucha Brothers going over was a huge surprise, and knew the Bucks were heels, knew Lucha Brothers were over. The crowd reactions during this were unbelievable. They really wanted the Lucha Brothers to win. I started to get a hint of it maybe at the entrance because they did such a cool tribute to their heritage. But this was a complete booking surprise, and the match from beginning to end was absolute perfection. What a beautiful story.
Shout out to that crowd. That was they really were into it. They really were that was a smart crowd. Rey Fenix, I keep hearing him described as a future world champion. He moves different than other humans.
It makes no sense.
It's amazing. It's
Him
so
and Gravity have a different relationship than the rest of humans. And Gravity, I continually am blown away, and it just feels like anytime he's wrestling, it's a match of the year candidate. Like when Penta was injured and he was wrestling on his own, him and Kenny, match of the year candidate. Like every time he's on my screen, and even in like 6-mans and these crazy tornado tag matches we see him in, he's always the standout. He's just an unbelievable wrestler. And it's a crowded roster, and I'm so glad they get tag team gold because they just deserve it. It's been such an exciting part of watching AEW unfold, and they didn't have the name recognition other than super smarts like a Cody Rhodes or a Chris Jericho. So it's fun to see that even though they're definitely not homegrown, they feel kind of homegrown, if that makes sense. Yeah.
And then at the end, they win, and Penta goes to hug his family. And I hope they have some good stain remover because there's blood all over those clothes.
Yeah,
it's hard to get blood out of clothes.
Yeah, they're the tack spot from Matt Jackson's shoes, which is just creative as hell. Kudos to them for finding ways to let heels cheat inside of a cage instead of having to escape the cage to cheat. Great storytelling there. But yeah, there was just his blood on his children, and I can't imagine the flurry of emotions when it's like, oh my God, my dad just won the tag team titles for, I mean, indisputably at this point, as far as tag team wrestling goes, AEW has the best tag division in the world by a mile and a half. Like, my dad just won these titles and he's bleeding all over me at the same time. I cannot imagine being a little girl and going through that.
That sounds like a horrible threat. Like, my blood will be on your children. But in this case, it was a good thing. Then there was the casino battle royal, and it was okay. It's hard to do battle royals good, but at the end, Ruby Soho, and everybody knew it. This is the amazing thing. Yeah. We knew CM Punk was coming, and it was still awesome. We kind of knew Daniel Bryan was coming, and it was still awesome. And we kind of knew the crowd was chanting Ruby Soho, but still, when it happened, oh my goodness! And when she came out, just the look of joy on her face was just, it was so sweet. This was so well done all around at the end, and she ends up winning, which makes a lot of sense. Just so good.
I agree with you on both sides of that. I felt like the actual battle royal was not great up until then. I did not like a lot of the booking here. I understand the booking. It's not that I don't like it from a logical standpoint. I'm just very sick of the story that Nyla Rose is beast when she tends to lose like a lot in big spots. Doesn't feel very like beast. Like Jade Cargill's probably a little green for that track if she's going to work it. The other woman who could have done that is Chris Statlander, and she already fought, right? So I completely understand why they told the story that they did. And I also understand it came down to her and Thunder Rosa. I was a little nervous they were going to give it to Thunder Rosa. I can't wait for Thunder Rosa and Britt again. That match needs to be Britt losing the title and Britt's not losing the title yet. I think next time her and Thunder Rosa are in the ring, Thunder Rosa is Britt's Achilles heel. Let that be the story. It's perfect. And it's not time for that yet. And Ruby Soho coming in and losing is not going to damage her in the slightest. Like it's going to be a fantastic match. I'm so glad she won. I'm so glad she's in AEW. The look on her face when she came out of just CM Punk said this in a couple of interviews too. He was like, it was just one of those moments when he debuted in Chicago where he was like, I just knew I was exactly where I needed to be at the moment. Like I was exactly where I was supposed to be at that moment. She looked like she had that same emotional reaction of like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing and where I'm supposed to be doing it. It was so beautiful. And shout out to Tony Khan for getting the Rancid song. You got to get the Rancid song.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, wrestling is simple, and they're showing that. Do things like getting songs that people can sing along to, like the Jungle Boy thing, Judas, all the other, Cult of Personality. It's simple stuff. Just give people what they want. This is not complicated, people.
Really not.
One thing they need to stop doing, they did this so many times in this battle royal. Somebody eliminates someone else and they stand there and they brag and they're just like, they're like, please eliminate me right now because I'm not paying attention. Like that was done like half a dozen times. Like, stop it.
That is done a lot. On Monday nights, sometimes I do a podcast with the Shining Wizards at Wizards Podcast. If you want to check them out, one of their hosts' biggest things, and it drives him nuts. And now I can't not get driven nuts by it. It's one of those things when someone points it out, you can't unsee it. He was like, why on earth do you ever go to the top rope in a battle royal?
Exactly.
Now you can never watch another match and not think of that anytime someone does that.
It's so dumb.
Oh God,
it's so dumb.
It's so stupid. Like just going to the top rope unprotected makes no sense. And now every battle royal I've ever seen since he pointed that out.
It's
ruined.
It's so dumb. You're just putting yourself at risk. And then when Ruby wins, she says to the ref, "Hi, Bryce," and gives her a big hug. I don't know what that was about, but that was so sweet.
It was so sweet. And for those of you who are either only watching AEW or haven't like followed Ruby at all, she apparently, as far as the cuts that were made by WWE, was one of the most shocking and one of the most painful. Everybody loves this woman. Like the crowd loves her. Everybody in the locker room, like outpouring of support, only had wonderful things to say about her. So it all just feels very sincere with her. I'm so glad she's in a company and walking into a feud where she can just go in and be a babyface because she was going to be over anyway. The women's champion happens to be a heel, kind of. Everybody loves her, so I think they're going to have to turn her at some point. But but everybody, there's just nobody who has a bad word to say about Ruby Soho, and she's so special and unique in this world. I'm so happy that she ended up in AEW, because also the women's division has been the weakest thing about this company for a really long time.
Yeah,
I think she's going to help a lot.
Yeah. I think when the AEW first started, the division was a kind of weak in talent, but you can't say that now. There's a lot of talent there, so do something with it. You have time now. You have extra shows. You have lots of things. Do something with these women. There's a lot of good stuff going on there. So yeah.
And in their defense, I will say, I think Kenny Omega was planning on using a lot of women from Japan, and Japan, because of COVID, like that just wasn't an option. And Britt was hurt. Chris Statlander was hurt. Like, for better or worse, like, I'm not a Brandy Rhodes fan in the ring. I think she's great outside of the ring.
Right.
Right. You know, she got pregnant, obviously. So like, they have battled a lot of injuries in that division. And they, I think we're planning on leasing some of that Japanese talent that we saw in the Joshi tournament, but you know, COVID had other plans. So I think they got kind of handcuffed, but the booking has been terrible. But you're absolutely right about the depth of the roster now. People like legit Layla, like Swole, like hopefully they're going to sign Kiera Hogan. Diamante is a beast. Like, let's go, because the time, the talent's there. The time is now.
Yeah.
In the words of John Cena.
I think you could put, there's a whole category of people you say, how did WWE screw this up? I think you're going to say that about Ruby Soho. I think you're going to say that about Malachi Black. There's a whole bunch. Adam Cole, sort of, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I mean, it's like, how did you mess this up? Like, it's right there. But oh well.
Malachi Black is probably at the top of that list for me, because Adam Cole, they didn't mess up. They just messed up by letting him walk out the door. That was the mess up there. Same with Daniel Bryan. Like, they stunted him, but once they let him go, he did a lot of incredible work. The Planet Champion stuff, even in his later return, I thought was fantastic. Yeah. Malachi Black to me is the one. And now, like, I mean, look at Miro. My God.
Yeah, Miro. Like, what? Yeah. What was? How did you mess
Moxley
this up?
Was Dean Ambrose and fighting a plant named Mitch. Like, it's a little bit mind-boggling. I think Malachi sticks out because of the depth of his storytelling and how every second of what he does is so intentional. Every second of it. But yeah, man, Ruby's certainly on that list.
Chris Jericho and MJF. A dusty finish. When was the last time we saw a dusty finish? I'm thinking 20 years ago.
Goodness.
Yes. Another great thing AEW does is, well, sort of, with the referees. Aubrey Edwards is almost as great of a personality as any of the wrestlers. And when she pinned, when MJF won, like, she just looked really sad. And yes, she's doing her job, but she looked really sad because, you know, like, Aubrey Edwards and Jericho like had a kind of a history, you know, and it was just, it
was great.
It was great. Everything. It was great. I'm okay with Jericho winning. I don't know. I don't hate him as much on commentary as some people do, but I think they're still trying to figure out that whole Rampage commentary thing.
I agree. Yeah, I think he'll find his footing in commentary. He's been a character doing commentary, and if he's going to transition into being a commentator, I think some things need to change. And also the yelly, shouty stuff, I think, works better when you're a heel. And right now he's a face, so it's just like a little bit of a matter of that as well. But I just absolutely love MJF, and I hope he wrestles maybe a little bit more frequently. I like that it's an attraction when he does. But sometimes with these promo guys, Eddie Kingston, the same thing. Then they get in the ring and you're like, holy shit, this guy's also a great wrestler in the ring. Like, you can't just get caught up in how good their promos are. But we have a lot of time with MJF. He's 25 years old. Like, he is going to be an absolute legend in this business. And so many great things that he did. His selling was out of control in this match. That Liger driver, whatever the hell, on the ropes was absolutely insane. My preference would have been he goes over clean and then you figure out a way to work Jericho back into non-retirement because he already beat him 3 times. It feels like this should have been the gunshot that put the horse out to pasture, as dark of a metaphor as that is in a lot of ways. But
all right,
okay, Jericho wins. Kind of like, now what? What was the point?
Yeah.
Like MJF still has 3 matches up on him, so I didn't love the decision here, but I love that everybody knows that MJF is an absolute student of the game, which I think is one of the most important things you can do in any art form. If you're a musician that doesn't go back and listen to the Beatles and Pink Floyd and Radiohead and everybody, like, you're doing yourself a disservice to your own art. MJF getting to do the Eddie Guerrero finish with Jericho and then getting to follow it up with the Dusty finish. Like, I love that he's rewarded for being a student of the game, both as a wrestler and clearly like in how they're choosing to book things. I think that is so great. And I'm with you. I have issues with the AEW refs. Not this time. This time, the lack of foresight by the refs was justified in a much better way, where normally I'm just yelling at Rick Knox because I'm like, what's the point of having you in a tag match? Just call it a tornado tag because you don't actually do anything.
Right.
We're like calculated, smart, protected actions where the referees were affecting a match. So I liked it much more on this pay-per-view than my usual complaints. But yeah, when was the last time you saw the Dusty finish, man? That's
great.
Fantastically done.
I mean, in the 80s, it was done like every other match, but now, when it's only done once every 20 years, it's really cool.
Yeah, once a decade now, right?
Yeah.
Rules.
Okay, and this is a weird complaint, but this feud has gone on too long. Enough. I want to see MJF against somebody else. MJF has been with feuding with Jericho for, it seems like, a year now. Let's have, oh my God, just all the dream matchups, MJF and CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, anybody. Let's have something else go on. So let's see what happens there.
Yeah, this angle's been stuck in the mud. I wish the inner circle had broken up because I think it's harnessing people now rather than pushing them forward. But the one thing you have with MJF, especially though, is time. He's so young. Their schedule is so favorable. He has said before that Adam Cole is like his dream match. So that'll be really fun when that happens at some point. But yeah, now that you have CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole, yeah, I'm very ready for this to move the fuck on.
CM Punk and Darby Allin, we knew it was going to be good. It was. At the end, I thought it got really interesting. CM Punk wins. Sting comes out. I'm like, what's going to happen here?
Mm-hmm.
Is somebody going to turn on somebody? Is there going to be something? And no, it was just, I mean, I think we kind of knew it was going to end in a handshake.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking.
No complaints.
But because they know what they're doing, they are going to make you bite at the CM Punk heel turn every time he has a feud until he does, because it's a smart crowd and they know that the money in CM Punk is a bad guy. Everybody knows that. He's going to be a babyface for a little bit. He's just too damn over. Right. Adam Cole being brought in as a heel later in the show just confirms that even more for me, because he's going to be, I think, your go-to heel for a little bit. But this match was great in a completely different way than I expected. I was thinking Darby was going to bump all over the place for this guy that has been out of the game for 7.5 years. The storytelling from both of them was just incredible. I feel like Darby was getting himself into situations where he was always fighting from behind. He was always the underdog. He's always sneaking in like a small package or a roll up or whatever to win matches, because he's the skinny emo kid and he's fighting these other people. This was different. This was so refreshing to see this side of Darby Allin come out. The facial expressions on both of them. Darby beating himself up every time he got outwitted by CM Punk, who's the more experienced veteran here, was so fantastic. Darby getting his offense in, diving to the side like a freaking maniac, like he always does, like kind of beating CM Punk down with his sheer youth and his style was great. I expected this to be very different than it was, though I expected it to be great. This was great, and the story that they told was just absolutely fantastic. And where this went on in the card, I'll tell you what, this was when I got the first sniff of holy shit, something's happening at the end of this card. Because the fact that this wasn't the main event and that this went on before Tall Paul and QT Marshall told me the end of this is going to blow our fucking minds.
I love that it kind of started with Darby in the corner just like sitting down, and then CM Punk decides to sit down too. It's like, okay, let's just sit down. Let's just
the CM Punk sitting down thing is so, I mean, iconic from the pipe bomb,
exactly.
Right? And in his debut on Rampage, all he did was sit down in the ring and the crowd went fucking ballistic. So to have Darby do that and then for him to follow suit, but it wasn't this I'm sitting down with my microphone moment. It was them staring each other in the face.
Right.
It was like so just awesome and organic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So well done. And now we could start CM Punk's actual first feud. I can't imagine CM Punk like actually, in an actual feud. I can't wait to see where this goes. So exciting.
What's next? Like, that's the beauty of this. He's so excited to be putting over young talent, but at the same time, I feel like he and Daniel Bryan could go tag against the Young Bucks and be like, you've become everything that you rallied against in WWE, and we're here to call you out on your shit. He could go get MJF. He could go fight the drunk cowboy and turn heel as the straight edge guy. Like, there's an endless number of directions that they could go with Punk. I loved that this ended with a handshake, gave you like a moment of pause, but the fact that this was like a friendly, seemingly a one-off out of the gate, I think it's fantastic. I thought they might have turned Darby heel after this, which I wouldn't have hated. But he's just such a great face and has such a special connection with the crowd right now. You don't have to fuck with that. Like, I'm okay with that.
I forgot what show it was last week when Punk went into the crowd and somebody offered him a beer. He's like, dude,
dead.
Hey,
oh my gosh.
I'm not that guy.
So funny.
Paul White, QT Marshall. This was perfect. It was quick. And okay, we got it over with. I'm just happy I don't know exactly what QT Marshall's story is, but it sounds like he's been, working for years, and I think he's had injuries or something like that. So for him to just be on a pay-per-view is a huge thing for him. So good for him. I mean, it's a cute character. He's also a cute character on Twitter too. I love when people are jerks on Twitter too. So, good for him.
So much fun. And his dog is like the cutest dog in the world, next to mine. But yeah, I mean, this was exactly what it was. It was cool to see Paul White get back in the ring for the moment. QT Marshall is a invaluable asset behind the scenes from what I understand. He's a trainer. He knows how to put matches together. He knows how to help with the supportive content with BTE and with Sammy's vlog. And I think he has a very, very strong wrestling mind as much as his wrestling acumen in the ring too. And I think he's hugely valuable in that way. So this was fine. This was designed to give the crowd a break. We knew what was going to happen. We knew the booking. Yeah. It was there to give you a second to catch your breath between CM Punk and Darby and the main event and the events that were coming. Yeah. And this whole card was stacked. So you really did need a breather. There was no other moment that was a pee break in this entire show.
Right. Yeah. Good for him. Good for Paul White coming back. It's all good. Kenny Omega, Christian Cage. I mean, yes, it was good. We kind of knew, you knew Kenny was going to win. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But then afterward, oh boy, here comes Adam Cole. And anytime he does the crowd does Adam Cole baby, I go crazy. I love that every time. And then Daniel Bryan just we were pretty sure Daniel Bryan was coming. Wasn't sure about Adam Cole. And it's just perfection.
Tony Khan was like, I'm just going to open the floodgates today. Like, he decided we have all these guys here. We've got plenty of moments to book them with moving forward. We're just going to open the floodgates. The match itself was really good. So I don't want to entirely skip over that because no one's going to give a shit. No one's going to talk about it today. But what I appreciated was it was a very different story than the first time around with these two. And Christian already got his moment. Now, seeing how this unfolded, I completely understand why this was a rematch and the desire to run this back, right? The first time around, Christian got the best of Kenny. He got a title out of it. He got into Kenny's head. I didn't feel like I needed to see this match again. Christian losing here is fantastic for 9,000 reasons, and certainly what got set up after. You know, the match was very good again. It was very different than the first match. The table spot with Kenny was amazing. Kenny just looked more vicious. We knew the way that this was going to go. Then you open the toy box. Jungle Boy and Christian's friends all come down to protect him, as they should. And everybody's running roughshod over everybody. And Kenny says, anybody who could beat me is either not here. And then he kind of takes a breath and says, or they're dead. Which is like infamously when they were the Elite the first time around, they killed Adam Cole off of their BTE content. And then the lights go out immediately. And I'm like, oh shit, it's going to be Adam Cole and we're going to get Daniel Bryan at a different time, which I think was a lot of people's reactions. Swerve, you're going to get both. And it seems like they're going to be in the same storyline where you're going to have this Elite versus maybe this faction with Christian and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Like, it seems like maybe they're leading into a face faction that way. Or maybe that was just for fun at the end here. It was just a catalyst to get everybody on screen. But yeah, you want to give me Daniel Bryan versus Adam Cole. You want to give me Adam Page versus Adam Cole so that Adam Page can get back to Kenny. Like, the endless possibilities. And for them to give us both moments back to back to close out the show. Some people are calling this the greatest pay-per-view of all time. That's impossible. That's just an impossible thing to answer, but definitely one of, because there was not a thing on this card that I didn't like from front to back. There were like parts of the Casino Battle Royal that I didn't really love. I didn't like Need, Tall Paul, and QT Marshall, but it was just designed perfectly. And I felt like the best pay-per-view before this was Revolution of 2020. It was also perfect from front to back. This was perfect from front to back and gave us CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and Adam Cole. Like, it just absolutely blows my mind how this company has continued to outdo itself in a 2-year period. It's bonkers to me.
Not only did they do this a perfectly put together pay-per-view, but it was a pay-per-view. Like, CM Punk's debut was on TV.
Yeah.
They do big things on TV, but they also say, you got to get this pay-per-view because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to show up. And just think of all the other possibilities, all the other, let's say Bray Wyatt decides to show up or whoever. They could do this a lot, the surprises and stuff. It's just,
Tony Khan loves giving shit away on free TV, though, right? You're completely right. Like, that's kind of the beauty in my estimation of them doing 4 pay-per-views a year and not doing a once every other month schedule or this godforsaken once a month schedule, because you can just do absolutely insane stuff, but then your free TV leads into that, right? So Punk is like the perfect Tony Khan textbook example, if you ask me. He knew All Out was already sold out. So he decided, I'm going to take the complete wind out of SummerSlam weekend. And I'm going to have CM Punk sell out the United Center again and not even confirm that he's going to be there. But why not just make a ton of money at the United Center again?
It was never announced.
It was literally never announced.
And everybody still knew. And it's still doing a huge rating.
Yeah, on a Friday night in a death slot.
Friday night at 10 o'clock.
They broke 1 million, right? But what's so great is you rip off the Band-Aid of that CM Punk moment, but then you're going to have him wrestle for the first time on the pay-per-view. So people are going to want to buy the pay-per-view to watch CM Punk wrestle for the first time. So the chess game that Tony Khan played with this is just perfect to me, that what he did to the competition for that weekend, because so glad Becky Lynch is back. Cool that Brock is back. CM Punk won the weekend. to have that, and then this build with him and Darby, which has been perfect. And then, the rumors are a powerful thing. And then there's surprises that you don't know are coming. And both are incredibly powerful forces, and AEW has done them both extremely well. Nobody knew Sting was coming. Nobody knew the Big Show was coming. Everybody was talking about the possibility of who the Joker is going to be. Everybody's talking about is it going to be Christian? When it was Christian, like there's speculative ones, and then there's ones that just wallop you, that just blindside you. And they've done a very, very good job of both.
It's just so good right now. It's just so good.
Wrestling is so much fun right now.
It is.
Stop fucking out marking yourselves, you dorks. Like this is just the best time to be a wrestling fan. It rules.
I don't watch Raw. I don't watch NXT, but I do watch you and the Fightful people talk about it afterwards, because that's way more entertaining than those shows.
Better.
Where are all the places where people can find you? Because to me, you're like CDs of AOL 1,000 hours that were given out to every household in the 90s.
Oh my goodness. Where can you find me? You can find me sometimes on Mondays on the Shining Wizards podcast. I'm not a regular there, but I'm not a host there, but I'm on there regularly, and I'm always having fun in their chat. So at Wizards Podcast, they cover everything. I don't know how. But they do a really, really great job and are a ton of fun. Tuesdays, you can find me on Sour Graps with Alex Pulowski, on Fightful after NXT, as we watch them die a slow, painful death and ruin what has been a wonderful product for the past 5 years. On Wednesdays, you can find me at Mark Order Pod. Mark Order Podcast, we go live, all things All Elite, right after Dynamite on Wednesdays, available in podcast form as well. Thursdays, I stop talking for just like a minute. And then back on Fridays,
it's like the Paul White match. You need a breather.
That's exactly what it is. And then Fridays, I'm back on Fightful doing the AEW Rampage and SmackDown post show with Sean Ross Sapp. It's been just the most wild month to have all of these exciting opportunities pop up for me. I feel like I'm talking about wrestling pretty much every day now, and damn it, do I love it. So.
And you're so good at it.
Oh, thank you.
You are knocking it out of the park. You are so awesome. You're awesome on Twitter too. What are you, Kate on Deck IC or something like that?
That is, yeah, Kate on Deck IC. I have my own company on deck, so that's why my name is that.
You always show up on my Twitter feed because you also get it. You're like me, just to be fun and interactive and friendly, and that's it. And you're knocking it out of the park everywhere. You're too humble. You're actually way more awesome than you just described.
Oh, you're so sweet.
You're so awesome. So anyway, thank you so much. I was so looking forward to this, and this was awesome. So thank you so much. No,
this was a blast. And for those of you behind the scenes, I was supposed to be behind the curtain, as they say. I was supposed to be on here, but we had a natural disaster that just like blew up my hometown, so I had to reschedule, and then I had to be later than I was supposed to come to this today. So just thank you so much for your patience in getting me on here.
It was pretty selfish of you to engineer a natural disaster just so you could get out of talking to me on a podcast. But still, it's I forgive you. You are forgiven.
It does feel extreme.
You're redeemed.
I could have just said I was sick or something, but I was like, I'm gonna have a hurricane and 3 tornadoes, by the way, touched down in New Jersey.
Yeah. I saw that one tornado. It's like a tornado in New York. Oh my God, that's not good. So anyway, hey, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.